The Big 12 Experience Week 3 Power Rankings edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, in to the Big 12 College Experience, part of Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Tuesday, September the 10th. We're recapping Week 2. We're looking ahead to Week 3, and we are giving out everybody's favorite, the Power Rankings. It's never controversial when you give out some Power Rankings. Overall, pretty good weekend for the Big 12. We'll dive into it, recap the action from this previous weekend. But first, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And joining me to talk Big 12 football is a walking contradiction because born in Provo, Utah, family in Ames, Iowa, lives in Morgantown, West Virginia, co-host of the Ryan and Rush show, Rambling Rush. What's up, Rush?
Well, you can also add now a Jewish quarterback beat a Methodist school to the picture. That was a great win by BYU Friday night. Felt good about it. Got to worry about now the letdown that is Laramie, Wyoming, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But hey, couldn't have asked for a better start that Friday night. I know we'll talk about it. Saturday was a fascinating day for the Big 12. Good early window, bad late window. We are finding out a lot about these teams, and things could get bad, but hey, at least you're not Texas Tech or Colorado.
Woo! Oh, yeah. We'll talk about some tears here in a minute. But a guy that's he's always fighting a family civil war. He's fought off that family civil war in Stillwater this weekend with the Cowboys. He's also in Waco, Fort Worth, Cincinnati, Orlando, Bounce House, baby. He is the Big 12 guru, a.k.a. the green mowing, weed growing, Troy Chewning. What's up, man?
What's going on? I don't know if you saw Rush, but there was a few dudes, the away group of BYU fans that they put up in the sun for the whole game. They had like 8 or 9 coolers of Cougar tails that they brought with dry ice, and they were handing them out to the SMU fans after beating their ass on the road. Oh,
dude, that's what they
huge
do
move.
best.
Yeah,
dude, we're gonna kick your ass, and then you can't get mad at us either. Because
it's like Prince bringing fucking Charlie Murphy into the house after playing basketball, and like, oh, we'll serve you pancakes. Like, just whooped your ass. Why don't you purify yourselves in the waters of Lake Minnetonka? Pretty big win for BYU.
Huge.
Jay Hill really putting his fucking name up there in the forefront. Like, even if Sitake doesn't make it, they've got. I mean, the defense looked awesome. And again, any defense that tackles people by actually using their arms and wrapping them up, and then they don't stand up and do some fucking 10-second celebration because it's a normal gap plug, like 2-yard run stop. That's what you're supposed to do. You don't need to get up and start slapping everybody's helmet after making a form tackle. Do that every time, get up and go back to work. But not the greatest spread week for me. I know Mac and I recovered a pretty good chunk of change on a K-State, Oklahoma State moneyline parlay with both teams trailing.
Oh, my God.
You got it at 700, right?
Yep, 7-1.
I got 550, and then I did one, and I threw Penn State in there with them to get it up to like 988 or something like that. So that was a big recovery for a 5-9 fucking spread week for your boy, just shitting the bed. Watching somehow Houston probably should have won that game. I feel like Houston could have had a chance of beating Oklahoma. That was a surprising one.
He got screwed by that SEC.
That's a good quality loss for Houston this week, though, with all the other Big 12 teams that we thought might be mid-tier that are probably finding themselves closer to the bottom. As you know, Rush said, Colorado, Texas Tech, Cincinnati blows a fucking 3-touchdown lead.
No comment. No comment on Cincinnati. Real quick, 10 games we talked about were going to be the judgment games. The Big 12 goes 5-5, so could have been better, could have been a lot worse if the two teams in the early window had lost. To summarize, BYU got in the win column Friday night, beat SMU 18-15. Oklahoma State came back in a game where they were outplayed. They win 39-31 in overtime. Cincinnati shits the bed, blows a 3-touchdown lead in the second half, loses 28-27. K-State comes back, rallies in Tulane 34-27. Game of the day, the Cyclones win the CyHawk matchup 20-19 on a walk-off field goal. Kansas, Jalen Daniels, not good on the road. They lose to Illinois 23-17. Colorado, I got no comment. Everybody watched that game. They got their ass kicked. All you clowns that were saying all that shit in the offseason, you probably already deleted your YouTube account by this point. You guys suck. Oklahoma wins 16-12 in a controversial call. Wazoo beats Texas Tech 37-16. We'll talk about Texas Tech here in a minute. And then Arizona State, the best team in the Big 12, rolls again in Tempe. Russ, your thoughts on an eventful week in the Big 12?
Well, it's the Big 12. It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? You think get that BYU win, the OK State, Kansas State wins. Of course, Cincinnati shits the bed, as you said, but then and then it's that late window got us a little bit there. But I mean, even with the Houston loss, I mean, that's definitely a moral victory right there. Let me ask you guys, do you think the Big 12 looks better than they did entering the week? Or do you think it's about the same? Or would you want it a little bit more?
It's got to be worse.
I think it's better. It's worse? I think it's better because
it's not worse.
I think because K-State and OK State won. If those had been the teams that had lost, I think it would have been better than Iowa State.
Yeah, but you're right.
And BYU. I mean, we brought BYU going down to SMU and winning. That's huge too.
Yeah, BYU, that was a pretty big win. But if Shedeur is going to get rushed the way he is, and Cam Rising is going to get hit the way he is, and Jalen Daniels is going to play the way he is, that's three of what we thought were, 5 or 6 of the best quarterbacks that are like, you're taking Rocco Becht over those 3 right now.
But in terms of pure wins, like just losses,
resumes.
I mean, it was definitely an advantage for the resume. I think this weekend was a solid B+, kind of that line of B+, A- for the Big 12.
I'm not even throwing Colorado in the expectation. They're the worst team in the league. I'm gonna say it right now. Colorado is the worst team in the Big 12 because you can't block, you can't tackle, and you can't coach. So I don't know what Colorado could do other than put out a bunch of Twitter videos, which I guess got their preseason hype going. That team sucks. So I'm out on them. I thought it was a good weekend. I mean, it could have been disaster in that early window if K-State or OK State had lost. But I mean, Cincinnati, they suck. They suck. Satterfield's a mess. I mean, they lost. Kansas was probably the biggest disappointment. Would you agree?
Yeah, if we weren't all on the money line for Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we called it, but yeah.
I would actually say Cincinnati was the biggest disappointment because it wasn't like it was they were up 21 points. They're up at 2-3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I know.
That's the biggest disappointment.
That was a big blower. I mean, you kind of had to see it coming from Texas Tech too, right?
Yeah, that might also be. I would make an argument for
that, but that game
I think they might be the worst team in the
No, I mean, dude, they had 500 yards of offense without Taj Brooks in Pullman. Colorado had the biggest egg for me. They didn't do anything other than just get sacked and throw pick sixes across the field on a 5-yard hitch route that had no chance of ever being completed. I mean, they were down. I think we texted the first possession of the game. We're like, this game's over. They can't protect them.
Yeah, I stopped paying attention after it was just awful. It was terrible. They don't have any trenches. I like Dion. I think he's a fine guy. All that sort of thing. He's not a coach.
But it's already the time to blow it up. If you see the post-game pressers with Shedeur shitting on his offensive line.
Yeah. And then
players not taking any accountability for anything. Like Shedeur is the one that has the L on his jersey for leader. It's supposed to be leader. It might be loser. When you're the quarterback, you can't just sit there and shit on no matter how bad the offensive line looks, you can't just sit there and be like, I can't do anything because my O-line sucks. Like, come on, man. That's nuts. They're not a team, and we kind of knew that too. Like it seems like this is the year that the one-hit wonder transfer portal thing is bringing some teams back down to earth, in the idea that you're not going to be able to get 25 guys in the transfer portal and it's going to work every time. In fact, more than likely, it's probably not going to work. At least if you're playing early teams that have any kind of semblance of dudes that are returning that are going to take advantage of that. But yeah, I mean, Colorado is, with the amount of games that they're trying to put them in fucking prime time, that's going to go down the drain pretty quick.
And Rush hit the nail on the head yesterday. I'm looking forward to Colorado after Dion. I'm not going to lie. I think Dion did some good things. You got that thing, a little bit of attention. He's got 10 games left. He's not coaching there next year. I would be really surprised if he's back in Boulder next year without his son. So
he's going to be on whatever staff draft Shador.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to life after Dion for the Buffaloes and getting this program back where they belong, and that's in the national spotlight for winning ball games' sake. So, real quick, we'll give out our tiers on the other side, but I got to talk about, the NFL and college football are rocking and rolling. So make sure you get on over there to the Sports Gambling Podcast and the College Football Experience that we are on. We are part of that channel. Free picks every game against the spread, dogs, moneyline, round robins, and all. Get on over there. Subscribe today. The College Football Experience and the Sports Gambling Podcast. And we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Troy, I know you will be giving out your underdog play for the weekend on Thursday when we do the pick show. Anything catch your eye? Let me finish off the ad while you cook something up over there. Use our promo code, first off, right above my head, TCESGPN, to claim your special pick and first time deposit. Offer up to $1,000 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCESGPN. And love it because you can the best ball stuff is great over there. This is the first year really that they've had this much to offer over at Underdog. It's been great to see them dive into the college football market, even with some of these injury reports that are hard to read. But Troy, you got anything cooked up tonight that you got your eye on?
Well, I'm going to the Nats game, so I'm looking at some of these. I would say that ex-Nationals legend Reynaldo Lopez, who had, I don't know, maybe 18 appearances for the Nationals in his career before he was off the team. He's had a hell of a year this year, and I see his strikeouts as 5.5, so we're going higher on that. See Mackenzie Gore's strikeouts as 6. We're going to go higher on that. And then we're going to take Jorge Soler higher than half of a home run for a 13X.
Love it. Get on over there. Get Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCESGPN. Let's go, baby. And we'll give out our underdog play this weekend for the Big 12. All right, we are back over here at the Big 12 College Experience. I think we are going to separate it in 4 tiers. Is that what you guys got on your list?
Right?
Groups of 4, yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you lead it off. Who is your tier 4, aka the basement dumpster right now?
Glue Factory.
Yeah, the Glue Factory.
Who's churning? This is we've already mentioned 2 of these teams, Colorado and Texas Tech. It's especially with Taj Brooks out now.
Yeah,
Texas Tech unfortunately can't get that early season monkey off their back, and even beating Abilene Christian by 1 point in overtime week 1 was not good. Colorado's next. There's no coaching. There's no line on either side. It's just a couple superstars that, can't, when things go bad, they can't overcome it. So Cincinnati can't be blowing leads like this. Troy and I were on Cincinnati since last year with Satterfield. It's just a disaster with that guy in Colorado. With Cincinnati. Cincinnati obviously being, Brian Kelly was there. Fickle. They were the first team to make the college football playoff without being in a power conference. And there is an expectation at Cincinnati of, hey, you got to be somewhat decent. You got to at least have 8 wins at Cincinnati. Maybe they're in the Big 12. I get maybe those are tapered a little bit, but this is a program with a lot of history. So it's until there's a regime change, not much is going to change with Cincinnati. And then I got to put Houston here. Very impressed with what they were able to do at Oklahoma. We all, I feel like we're kind of on that. But they're still 0-2. That UNLV game was still very ugly, and UNLV plays Kansas that week. That's a fascinating game. You still got to put them in the bottom tier, but hey, good for them for the transition they made from week 1 to week 2. So if there was a little hope from this bottom tier, it was Houston and their improvement that they did make.
Yeah, not quite the same order. And first order of business actually is a shout out to UNLV. The everybody knows about the slot machine they have on the sidelines, but they're just going to run up the score so they can get more kids to do the slot machine celebration for, social media purposes and whatnot. What do they have? Like 76, 78 points or something like that this past week? I think maybe UNLV is a little bit better than we thought, especially when you see Houston kind of contain Oklahoma a little bit. I think it's definitely worth keeping your eye, as we said, as the season goes on. You got Willie Fritz down there grinding them. I think they might slowly work their way up this power rankings. For me, the very bottom is Cincinnati. 3-touchdown lead and you lose the game to Eat Shit Pitt. You're going to the bottom no matter what. They could have been 10-0 when they lost that game. I would have moved them to 16 from wherever they were. Colorado at 15. Just bad. I mean, just a bad team. Under 5.5. Eat Shit Colby bet. Back to looking good. Got a little worried after the North Dakota State game, but if Colorado State can beat them, we might already lock that in. I have Texas Tech at 14, and then Houston at 13. I'm looking at Texas Tech as an 0-2 team. I know I said this last week, but 52-51 to Abilene Christian is you should have to list that as a loss if you're Texas Tech, if you had any pride. Yeah, and then Houston at 13 at the climbing themselves out of the glue factory, actually. In fact, I don't think that they're not even like they never even got to coagulate into glue. You thought something after the first week and then just flipped it around right away. Like to see, I mean, that was a very impressive performance that I saw out of Houston. As boring as it was, that's definitely their best chance this year to, eke out some wins.
So for my bottom tier, I went 4A, 4B. 4A meaning I don't think they've quit, and 4B, they're quit, and it's going to get ugly. 4B, you guys hit the nail on the head with Cincinnati. I mean, are you kidding me? You blew a 3-touchdown lead to Pitt in the second half. That's a joke with Satterfield. And then Colorado, for all the reasons we've already discussed. That's not a real football program. They're just throwing shit at the wall, hoping it sticks, and it's going to be a 3-9. Maybe 4-8. They're going to quit on Dion. They're going to pull some NBA crap, load management, and just get ready for the draft here soon. That thing's going to go south and south quickly. So those are the teams in my 4B. 4A, I think that they're not very good, but there still is hope. Texas Tech, I mean, I know they were without Taj Brooks, but it's still 500 yards of offense. So at least one side of the ball looks a little bit promising. They just need to fix that defense for whatever reason. I don't think they've quit yet, but they have been underwhelming. And then Houston for the talent issues. But, man, we saw Willie Fritz coach him up. Week 1 to week 2, the jumps they made, they could be in tier 3 by the end of the year. So Houston and Texas Tech, I don't think season's over yet. But for Cincinnati and Colorado, I've seen enough with those teams. Tier 3, Rush.
Arizona State, know that they're 2-0, and they've done a good job with Wyoming and Mississippi State. We need to see how that translates into the Big 12. Still a lot to prove there, but way better than we thought. So they could easily be making their way up a good bit. TCU, I know that it was Long Island over the weekend. And I'm still thinking about the week before against Stanford. Sloppy game, a game that they should have won by more. I think this is the week, right? TCU, UCF.
UCF. Saturday.
Yeah, so that will tell us a lot, that game right there. We also have another non-conference game, but obviously plenty of time to talk about that. And then I'm going to go Baylor. I know they ended up covering against Utah, but I think that was more related to Cam Rising getting hurt, and it looked like Utah was going to rout them. And, it settled down there. They are looking better than this time where they were last season. Baylor still needs a lot of improvement. And then kind of a team that might be able to jump into tier 2. I need to see them lock down Wyoming. As I said, BYU, huge win. Not ready to put them in the top half of the league yet, but they are holding their own. Looked decent week 1 against Southern Illinois. Cleaned it up, obviously going to Dallas and upsetting it the way they do. It's fantastic. I need them to beat a team that they need to beat on the road in Wyoming. They go 3-0. We can start talking about kind of bringing them into that tier 2 list, but that rounds out the bottom half of the league for me.
My 12th team is Baylor. I thought that, they hung okay. I don't think that they would have had the same scoreline if Cam Rising had have stayed in, obviously, but they ended up kind of hanging around. I wanted to put them above the very bottom tier because it does seem like if Baylor were to play Colorado right now, they would be able to beat them with just better discipline, nothing more, like regardless of talent or anything else. I feel like just normal coaching and better discipline puts you above that tier right now. So Baylor at 12, Kansas at 11. They suck. They are not good. Jason Bean is the reason why they were good last year. It's kind of obvious to tell. I'm glad we didn't pull the trigger on the Jalen Daniels futures because those would be rip tickets already. There's no reason Kansas shouldn't be giving Devin Neal the ball 35 times. It's crazy. Number 10 for me is TCU. Still haven't seen too much impressive anything out of them, but I haven't really seen them completely shit the bed like, a Colorado or a Cincinnati did. And then at 9, I have Arizona State moving up in my power rankings from 13 last week to 9. Didn't want to bump them up too fast after last week, but obviously should have. Arizona State that's the spicy team that could cause some real issues. And Arizona State might be the key to us getting to the coin flip tiebreaker in the Big 12.
So for my tier 3, I just had it. These 3 teams, I have been unimpressed / they just haven't done anything. Arizona is giving me huge overrated vibes. I've been saying it since the preseason. I think their defense sucks. I know it looked a little bit better this weekend, but they're playing Northern Arizona, and I know they probably were a little vanilla. We'll find out a lot about them on Friday. Me personally, I think K-State's going to beat the you-know-what out of them. So Baylor is in that company too. Baylor, I mean, they haven't really done anything. They haven't really hurt themselves. They lost at Utah. I'm not going to penalize you for that loss. And then Kansas, man. Jalen Daniels looks like a shell of himself. So that's my 9 through 11. And then I have a lot of teams in tier 2 where I say I think that they could make a run at the title with the right schedule, right breaks. And I'll talk about that on actually go ahead, Rush. Start tier 2.
Tier 2, I am going. This is when I go UCF, not necessarily in order. Actually, if I'm going a little bit in order, you got to go Kansas here. I know what you all are saying about Kansas. I think Kansas can definitely fall here. I like to think that with how good of a coach Leipold is and that there is talent there, that there's still a little bit of oomph to them. And then they can maybe this Illinois loss be one of the best things to ever happen to them because it propels them forward. So I'm not ready to drop them quite yet. I will add Arizona to that as well. Big game against Kansas State this upcoming week. Definitely need to show us more. They have all the weapons, but it's like, where are they? Like, what's going on here? Might be really conservative these first 2 games, saving it all for Kansas State. That's why I'm a little hesitant to drop them this far. But Ryan, we were on the same page. Like, I think I still have them going 7-5 overall. It seemed like everyone was on him this season. It's like, well, they overperformed last season. We've seen this before. And then they kind of even out this year. So still feel the way I do. So Arizona, Kansas. I'm missing a team. Who am I missing?
West Virginia.
Your own team.
Well, yeah. West Virginia. I had it crossed out. Sorry, I listed BYU twice, so I had to move them around. Yeah, West Virginia. Hey, they got back on track this week. big week with the backyard brawl. This could be the game coming up that propels West Virginia. Actually, I will say this: Virginia forward or pushes them back. This game upcoming is the difference between a 5-7 season, maybe a 6-6 season versus a 7-8-9 win season. It all comes down to Pitt and the backyard brawl and the motivation we get from that. The offense looked fantastic. Looked like they were, getting back to form. Defense, little vanilla play calling, as we talked about on the Ryan and Rush show. I'm not overly worried about it, Ryan. I don't think you are either. They'll be just fine. So keep West Virginia in the top tier too.
I told you guys to look out for that spread. Albany got you by the hook.
There you go.
35 and a half.
W at the opener at 32, baby.
Yeah, 32. You were okay at 35 and a half. I had to jump on it. I have BYU as the 8th team with what I think might be the best chance at jumping up into the top tier out of these mid-tier teams, to be honest. If the offenses in the Big 12 are going to struggle, BYU is going to be able to fucking hang in games that they probably shouldn't be able to because of their offense not being that great. But, man, that defense looked impressive. And I know it was just SMU, but it's a standalone game. You're on the road, and your offense doesn't really do much in the whole first half outside of the first drive of the game, and you still just continue to stick it to them and play good defense. I mean, obviously their program is awesome, and you have to give credit to, Jay Hill and even Sitake and everybody there, but they definitely don't look like a team that's ever going to quit. So they're going to be in a lot of these games as the season goes on, and maybe some of the other teams that had higher expectations kind of become a little sad as they lose a few more games. That's not going to happen at BYU. They're just going to go out there and compete. I have W at 7. I do think that offense got back on track a little bit. The scrambling quarterback is definitely going to give some of the higher, what we think are the better teams in the league. It seems like the running quarterback is causing issues. I mean, if Arkansas had Garrett Green, they probably win that game. And not to say that Arkansas's quarterback didn't play great, but just having some experience against that Oklahoma State's always going to have some kind of comeback, whether it falls short or not. You have to be prepared for Gundy to kind of turn it around. And then at 6, I have Arizona. They're slowly slipping down. We'll see what happens in this K-State game, but I don't think that they really did call much. I think they were just trying to win a game, and maybe they alerted the boosters to take the points instead of lay the points this week. And, we're not going to go out there and try to stomp them in the ground, but still worrisome to see that. If you're going to be a competitor, you should probably at least have, 3 touchdowns on a team like Northern Arizona. And then at 5, I have UCF. Covered 2 spreads, not the, most difficult start to the year, but they do look like they have the engine running at least in like second or third gear already, which could be an issue for some teams if they can't score. Again, we know UCF can just kind of lean on their run game, even if KJ's arm isn't super accurate that day. They still have a really good ability to just fucking run the ball down your fucking throat. So they're at 5 for me.
I like it. This is my clump of 5 teams in tier 2 that I think could make a run at it if everything broke their way. At number 9, I went BYU. Great win. I am really concerned about that offense, so I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think SMU has a good defense, but Jay Hill's defense is rocking and rolling. So shout out to the Cougs for a big road win. Got to put them in tier 2 after that. 8, TCU. I think they're good offensively. They went to Stanford, got it done. They should have won by more, but they took care of business. Big game this weekend against my number 7 team, UCF. Same thing. They beat up a Sam Houston team. I think TCU and UCF, that's going to be a track meet. Can't wait for that. Number 6, Arizona State, man. Mississippi State dressed up that score. They were in control of that game. They dominated 2-1 time to possession, 500 yards of offense again. And then at number 5, West Virginia hasn't done anything to hurt their ranking. They lost to a top 10 team, and then they rolled Albany this weekend. I think they solidify their top 5 ranking this weekend at Pitt. We'll get into our tier 1. I think we all have the same 4 teams in tier 1. on the other side, but we got to talk about rhythm. Well, build your model with some of these teams that we're talking about over there. Model like the Cyclones this weekend. Got it done in the CyHawk Bowl. Hell of a win. Get on over there. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. We are back on the Big 12 experience. Tier 1. We all have 4 teams, correct?
Yep.
And it's Iowa State, Oklahoma State, K-State, and Utah. Rush, how are you ranking these teams?
I'll put Utah at 4. It's just related to Cam Rising. We need to see what's going to happen there. They said it's not serious, but you also just never know. So
that's what they said last year.
And he never played.
He never played a game.
Exactly. So we'll see what breaks there. I'll put K-State at 3. I know we were scared about Tulane, and everyone would be like, if they can get out of that with a win, all good. No harm done. I'll just say my only concern with Kansas State is if it comes down to Avery Johnson needing to pass the ball because they're behind and they have to save the clock. Is he going to be able to do that? I think he is a capable passer, but he definitely likes running first. So I'm curious what's going to happen. Hey, it could even happen this Friday against Arizona on Fox. Is if they're running a 2-minute drill and even 1 minute and they need to get to field goal range and he needs to sling the ball around, is he going to be able to do that? That's why I have him at 3. Number 2, I'll put Oklahoma State. Hey, they figured out a way to come back. They always leave it. Oklahoma State, I've said this time and time again, they're the definition of if you got rid of the scoreboard on the screen and just watched the game, you'd be like, oh, Oklahoma State lost. That was a good game. And then it's like, how does Gundy keep pulling this out? And he does. There's just always never enjoyable, I'm sure, as an Oklahoma State fan, Troy. He definitely keeps you on the edge of your seats. But hey, power to him. Bowman obviously has his limitations, but Gundy's still Gundy. And number 1, I'll do it. Who was the comment earlier that said it? Oh, it was Filet-O-Fish. Hey, if you're gonna win CyHawk the way you did, I'll put Iowa State at number 1. I have to. It's until further notice. I mean, that was a great win. That was a fantastic. Don't panic. We're Iowa State. We'll go into Iowa. We'll figure a way to grind this out. Clearly, they didn't expose the playbook like we all thought they wouldn't against North Dakota, and North Dakota covered that spread 2 weeks ago. But got to give credit where credit's due. Iowa State, number 1.
For me, I'm also going with Utah at 4. Cam Rising leaves that game, and to be completely honest, if Daquan Finn was a little more accurate, there's a shot that Baylor comes back and wins that game, which is nuts because you would think that with all the other talent against a team like Baylor, Utah would still hopefully be able to cover the 14.5 without Cam Rising for a half. Kind of worrisome. And I don't, with as much Baylor as I've watched, I don't think that it was Baylor playing really awesome just because Cam Rising wasn't in there. I think you might see some cracks in Utah. I would have expected them to play significantly better. I wonder what the score would have been if they just didn't start Cam Rising at all. If they had, prepped a backup and let him play the whole game, if they would have had a couple more points on the board or not. But just not impressive when you see these teams that they're the favorite to win the conference. They should be able to thump the shit out of Baylor with second stringers. I like the whole team of second stringers, I would hope. But that's what it kind of looked like. They kind of looked like they had a second string team playing. Number 3, I'm going to put Iowa State here. I don't want to bump them up too high right off the bat. I think people are a little fooled by who did Iowa play? Not Northern Illinois. Who did in week 1?
Oh, Illinois State.
Illinois State, yeah. They had some offense for the first time in years, and everybody was all aboard the Iowa train, not taking into account that they were playing a high school team. Iowa State, like I said, you're not going to have dudes with 10 yards of open space down the field against them throughout the game and be able to put up, 3 passing TDs as an Iowa quarterback. That might be the only time we see it. is week one for them. Number 2, I'm still keeping OK State at 2. I don't want to switch them. I have K-State at 1 and OK State at 2 until somebody actually loses. Those are the kind of games, as an Oklahoma State fan, watching that game, the amount of nerves were not there. We've seen it a million times. We were all together and hit that live down 3 scores bet against BYU at hard times. That's just kind of what they do. I don't know why. I don't know if there's any way to maybe get them, a little more motivated to start the game instead of waiting until halftime. But I will say Mike Gundy had 2 timeouts with Arkansas on like a 3rd and 14 or something, and he didn't use the timeout. And Arkansas's quarterback scrambled and picked up the first down, and they only had 3 seconds left in the half. Mike Gundy almost could have given them 40 extra seconds to score more, and the game wouldn't have gone to overtime. Mike Gundy's super conservative no timeout call won them the game before halftime, saying like, fuck this, we're going to go into halftime in the locker room and I'm going to yell at these guys and my permed mullet's going to flap around. Also, Oklahoma State comes back to win a game. You get a beautiful clip from Mike Gundy in a post-game press conference talking about his Zigbo. Do you want the coach speak or do you want the truth? Well, the truth is we can't afford anybody else. It was great. Gundy is awesome.
Like it is.
Gundy is awesome. And I think when we look back, that K-State win on the road will be a good win. Regardless of how it occurred, Tulane's a good fucking football team and went down there on the road. Louisiana, not all that fun unless you're allowed to get blasted. Besides that, not too much going on besides everybody else around you having the time of their lives and you wondering why I can't do it. But still, tough grinded out win for K-State. Again, kind of the thing that they do as a program. Wish it would have been a little more convincing, but, when you're on the road, sometimes shit happens and you find a way to sneak out. Can't punish them. Tulane is a good enough team that you have to just take that win and, move on.
Yeah, as much as I love Gundy, I got to put them at 4. Dude, that defense is god awful. Holy shit!
Bad.
They give up almost 700 yards of offense to Arkansas.
I was going to say they almost got doubled up in yardage, and they had 370 yards.
Yeah, and they got away with it last year because that schedule was soft. They got to tighten up that thing, man, because they're not getting to the Big 12 title again if they're giving up 500-600 yards every game with the way the Big 12 laid out their schedule. Utah 3 for me. I still think they're really good, but I got my doubts that Rising's going to be able to make it through the year. And if he's not going to be able to make it through the year, they're not going to win the Big 12. I know Utah fans are like, oh, he's going to play. Well, what evidence do you have? I mean, he's coming off a season-ending surgery last year. He's already banged up this year in week 2. So
add a medical red shirt. Let's go. Another year. Run it back.
What he hit his hand on? It was like a water cooler, right? Or
Gatorade cooler, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, dude, some guys just find a way to get hurt, and it's not his fault. But it's like, dude, I can't trust it. Number 2, I'm not gonna get them. I'm not gonna put them number 1 yet. Iowa State, great win. What a win! That was a great win over Iowa. Now here's the problem: the last time they beat Iowa in Iowa City, they went 4-8. So don't duplicate that this year, Iowa State. Now all of a sudden Iowa State has expectations, so that means we fade them for like the next 3 weeks. Matt Campbell's a favorite, is definitely a fade system for us here, but a great win in Iowa City. Really happy for those fans that win CyHawk. And then number 1, K-State. They played like shit. They found a way to beat a Tulane team that I think is going to win 10 games. So Summerall's a great coach down there. He had a thing rolling at Troy 24-4. He took right over Willie Fritz, left in a good position. They didn't play well. They found a way to win. Yes, Avery Johnson got some work to do, but also it was his first true road start. So to find a way to win on the road, I take a lot of account for that. That's why K-State and Iowa State are my 1 and 2. Great road wins for the league. For Farmageddon, let's go. Guys, we have huge games on Thursday and Friday. Just looking ahead, the weekend is not as big outside of the brawl. We do have TCU, UCF, but What's the game that's catching your eyes? Is it the Thursday night game or the 2 Friday night games for the Big 12?
I mean, the fact that they're giving 7 points to Kansas against UNLV seems weird. Like the point that Rush made about Leipold might stand in the eyes of the odds makers. Just having a coach like Leipold, hoping that you can turn stuff around, but with how many points UNLV has scored, I would be a little worried. Not necessarily that they're going to be able to consistently score points on Kansas, but if for some reason they execute, 2 drives and get a touchdown and a field goal, and they've got a 10-point cushion, things could get scary. I mean, Jalen Daniels has thrown the ball to the other team. He's already got 5 picks in 2 games. You're going to lose if you throw the ball to the other team. I mean, that one's scary. I don't think I like that one that much. Obviously, Texas State, Arizona State should be a much more competitive, awesome game now compared to what we would have thought, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Texas State, though, looked pretty impressive against UTSA.
Yeah,
Rush, what you got your eye on?
Who needs Bills Dolphins when you have Texas State and Arizona State? That's my Thursday night football for you. You're really excited about that game. I think I don't know what the early line's saying, but that kind of, because it being at Texas State and the win that they're coming off of, that game feels kind of even. So hopefully Arizona State can hold it down for the Big 12. We'll talk about that more, of course. And then we've all been waiting for the Arizona Kansas State. That's going to tell us a lot about each team there. And then UNLV Kansas. I mean, the difference between last year and this year is obviously Kansas beat Illinois last year, but that week 3 game for Kansas was that Reno game where it got kind of weird. It could get a little similar to this. For West Virginia's sake, I hope Kansas does win it, because then they're in Morgantown next week, and them losing 3 in a row might be a little difficult there. But Kansas is not looking like we were talking about earlier, the team that we thought, and UNLV has absolutely a chance to win this game outright. If Kansas doesn't go out of this game and play loose, maybe they could lose 3 in a row. They could. So this is going to be a statement game for Kansas. And this, even though it's a long season with how early it is in the year, this could determine what the rest of the season looks like for them. It will.
It's a blackout. They're doing the blackout like they did the Illinois game last year. But just looking ahead to Saturday, guys, a ton of in-state games: Cincinnati, Miami of Ohio, OK State, Tulsa, North Texas, Texas Tech, Utah State, Colorado State, of course, in prime time, Rice, Houston, and then, of course, you got some more regional matchups with BYU, Wyoming, and, of course, the headliner, the Backyard Brawl. So Saturday is another big – we have a lot of more – I can't talk. We have a lot more can't-lose games this week than we did last week. There were a lot of toss-ups last week, but there's a lot of trap games for the Big 12 this week.
I also see the brawl line right now is only 2.5 for West Virginia. I think you might want to jump on that on a Tuesday. I feel like that'll get to 3.5, and you'll lose the field goal possibility.
I think it closes at 3. Rush, what do you think the brawl closes at?
Probably, yeah. I think 3's right. I think Vegas will try to make a push out of it just in case. Don't take that for home field advantage for Pitt, because it's not going to be. It'll probably be 50-50, and it's still not a hard travel for West Virginia. So a lot of people may say, a home dog too. It's not. It's not your tip. It's not. Yeah. So just wanted to put that out there for everyone.
We're taking that fucking stadium over.
We better. Yeah, we should have 2 years ago.
Let's go. Hey, Troy, what you got going out? What you got going on before we get up on out of here?
Going down to Florida on Thursday, just to go play golf for a long extended weekend and watch football. So going to go down there and do the same thing that I would do here, except for 25 degrees hotter and different golf courses than normal. So that'll be fun.
There you go.
Got to get all my bets in on Wednesday night, though.
Better hurry. We'll be at Ryan and Rush show later. Check us out there, 7 o'clock over on that channel. I am really looking forward to this weekend and all the action we have, especially in the Big 12. I'll tell you what, is college football is still my favorite. It's the best sport out there, but having the full weekend football with the NFL, it's great. And then hopefully you get a nice 10 o'clock game, and then, they get a London game going. Just pass out on the chair that you're in and wake right back up and do it all over again. It really is the best time of year. So check us out. Everything we got going on.
We'll see how good a mood Rush is in when BYU's in that late window at Wyoming, at Laramie, 0-2 Wyoming, desperate for a win. Oh God!
Hey, if we win the backyard brawl, I've set my expectations. I said we'd beat SMU and lose to Wyoming. That would be BYU. If we beat the backyard brawl, I probably know what's coming at 9 o'clock. Not a lot of late games this week, though.
No,
I hate when they do that.
Dude, the brawl should be at nighttime. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
Like, why is it at 3:30 on ESPN2? It's the best game on the slate for college football on Saturday.
I don't
in terms of pure hatred and college football tradition. So
hell, put that game at 10 o'clock.
And also, you need to give everybody time to get blasted at the backyard brawl. You can't be having it at 3:30. At least do 6:30 or something like that.
Get Colorado State off the CBS primetime slot.
That'll still be cool to watch Deion lose another game, though.
Yeah, that should be the 10 o'clock game. That should be the late.
Yes, that was last year. It was the 10 o'clock game last year. We watched it after the brawl.
Yep. Anyway, we'll be back Thursday to break down each and every game. Let's go. College basketball experience coming up next. Noah, Beanick, and I, and then we got the coaches tour. Then, of course, Ryan and Rush at 7. Colby and I got bracketology tonight too, so busy night over here on the network. Make sure you subscribe, tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your cousin, tell everybody. Help us help you. We appreciate it. He's at Rambling Rush. He's at Troy Chewning. I'm at Moneyline_Mac. We are the Big 12 College Experience, and we are out of here. Where's my music? There we go. The music.
Your dog was singing for us. Right?
There you go.
The dogs are barking.
Get out.
Dogs are barking, Ryan. That's never a problem.
Scared the shit out of me.
Thought it was a sound effect he clicked.
I know. I was like, what happened?